So tab 1. Tab 1 is from the information and is about the newest, hottest, most elusive startup in the SaaS world right now, and that is Rome Research. So this mysterious company raised a crazy town seed round, which was $9 million at a $200 million post-money valuation, which sets a whole new record for seed financing. In fact, that is 25 times greater than the median valuation for your average seed round. The investors include the Stripe co-founders, the Collison brothers, True Ventures, and Lux Capital. So why is this thing so popular? Well, I left out the key ingredient, and that is the community. So again, you can go anywhere online, you'll find that people love this thing. They love it so much, the users of Rome self-identify as a cult. On Twitter or Reddit or elsewhere, you will find a lot of this cult love. For example, this guy says, I joined a cult with my eyes wide open. They said they were a cult, I knew they were a cult, and yet I joined. Why? And why do I stay? Join me as I take the plunge. My first tweet storm thread follows #RomeCult. And there's a great tweet storm that follows that explains his thinking, but it's kind of a funny tweet, right? Referring to it this explicitly as a cult. Lots of people talk about products that have a cult-like following, but this is a whole new level, right? So the thing that first got me thinking about this was actually this post on LinkedIn by Martin over at Auth0. He has a very straightforward thesis about the role of the community for Rome. So you see all of this Rome cult love online, and many of these people are influencers, and the level of enthusiasm about the product is off the charts. But then you come to Rome's website, and it's a little bit vague and esoteric, as we just learned together through my walkthrough. And it creates this certain sense of FOMO that there must be something really incredible behind the curtain here, because otherwise why would people be describing themselves as members of a cult? And then you get into the product, and as Martin describes it here, and this is consistent across the reviews that I saw online, there's actually a really steep learning curve for Rome. But when you encounter this steep learning curve, but you had the FOMO originally, it causes you to go back to the community to watch videos, to read pro tips, and to come up that steep learning curve and to put in the hard work. By the time you get up the learning curve and over the hump, you've had the aha moment and you are now bought into Rome and you are now a member of the cult. And now you're probably feeding the community and feeding the cult because you want to give back and help that new user to get up the curve the way that you did as well. So it creates a virtuous cycle for community, and that becomes a really interesting competitive moat for Rome. So what do I make of this? I think I come back to the classic quote about what does it take to be successful, at least to have breakout success long term. You have to be contrarian and right. Now, I think it's safe to say that Rome is definitely contrarian. And as a starting point, they're definitely right to begin with in this early adopter community. But will their success and will this strategy jump from early adopters and rabid cult members to the broader mass market? I think it's definitely still an open question, because a lot of the reviews that I saw said, this thing's really, really cool. However, it's not going to become my daily driver. I'm still sticking to Notion. So it's yet another chapter in the long-running saga of the productivity wars. Tab 2. Tab 2 is from OpenScout and is the launch of a new product called OnePager to help startup founders raise capital more efficiently. So as background, before a founder goes out to raise a round of capital, they have to get everything in order and organized into one place. Things like a pitch deck and maybe team bios, customer references, key metrics, things like that. And once you get all those things into one place, you're going to obviously be sending that to investors who are digging in to understand your business. Now, the state of the art for this right now is a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder or something like that, which certainly gets the job done, but it also lacks something key, and that's context. It's hard to tell a story or to build an argument with investors by just having a bunch of files in a folder. And there's a new state of the art that's starting to emerge, and that's a Notion board for fundraising. So you still have all the important stuff in there, but you can link the things together and you can tell a story better. So with that as the background, let's dive into OnePager and see what this thing is all about. So now there's a very basic description on the website, which is that you have everything in one place. It's super easy to share with people with one link, and you get some analytics to see if investors are engaging or not. But I think you really understand OnePager when you actually see a OnePager. And so they have some examples like this one that they built for Snap. And so you see in real life all of the important information, company information, team information, pitch deck right here embedded that you can just tab through, videos to explain something or go deeper, and then FAQ for frequently asked diligence questions with the common responses. There's even a fundraising goal that will remind you of GoFundMe or Kickstarter or something like that to show the status. And that might even create some investor urgency or a little bit of FOMO profile as well. So you see that OnePager almost becomes a little bit of a social profile for your company as you go out to fundraise. And the dynamic that we see today is that the fundraising environment is definitely a seller's market with founders in the driver's seat. And the last thing in the world founders want to do is spend more time fundraising and doing the song and dance than is required. They want to run their business, understandably. And so taking advantage of the seller's market and saying, here's the standard diligence materials, here's the standard answers to due diligence questions, use it on a self-service basis and tell me if you're in or not, rather than chasing down every single investor due diligence request, which is the norm when it's harder to fundraise and it's more of a buyer's market. Tab 3. Tab 3 is from the Wall Street Journal and is an interview with Netflix's CEO, Reed Hastings. So Reed Hastings is the founder and longtime CEO of Netflix. Netflix has a reputation for a very strong and at times tough corporate culture. And in this Wall Street Journal interview, he speaks about his book, Netflix Culture, Leadership, and what he thinks about work from home. So quickly on leadership first, he says that only a CEO who is not busy is really doing their job. He specifically points to the fact that you can't be and should not be involved in all the small decisions. He points to casting decisions for a new original series or specific product features for an upcoming release. The more decisions you have to make, the more you're a bottleneck and the slower your organization moves, and so you should be unbusy as a CEO if you're doing a good job. Now, second on culture, Netflix has a couple of hallmarks. One, radical candor, which they've written a lot about. Two is to take big risks throughout the entire organization at the individual person level. And third, this is where it gets a little bit tough and perhaps controversial, is that they say that adequate performance leads to big severance packages. And to put a finer point on that, what they mean is something they call the keeper test. So if somebody on your team got a job offer somewhere else, would you fight to keep them? If the answer is no, then you should just fire them now. Now, I'm sure that that will have its fans and its detractors, but jumping from that into how does this culture do in a work from home environment, this is what Reed Hastings says. The number one thing he points to as being harder is that debating ideas is now more difficult. The interviewer asks, do you see any positives? And he unequivocally says, no, I don't see any positives. Not being able to get together in person, particularly internationally, is a pure negative. There's obviously lots of opining about the new normal and what the future of work will look like. And most people say that that's a lot of hybrid environments and a lot of remote work and a lot more collaboration in the office and a lot more work done at home. And Hastings sees much more of an incremental change, like moving to a 4-hour work week, where the fifth day can be, flexible if you want, but not anything that looks as drastic as what everybody else is predicting for the future. Well, that does it for this week on the PLG123. Make sure to follow me on LinkedIn for more daily PLG content. Hope you guys are having a great week, and take care.